Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ice Cold Takes podcast. I'm your host, Joey DeMeglio, and the Rangers had their exit interviews with the media on Tuesday. There was a lot to dissect from the players after they were eliminated. So today, I'll break it down with my analysis, and then I'll talk a bit about the offseason. So let's get right into it. We'll start with Jacob Truba, his comments. And I want to go off of what I was talking about last episode of the podcast. So with Truba, I have no issues. I just want to make it clear, like I have no issues with Truba as a person, as the leader, as the captain, as the guy in the dressing room. I'm sure he's a great guy. Um, like I said in the last episode, I think the players love him as the captain, and when they named him captain, I was all for it. Like maybe he wasn't my choice, but as long as the players liked the decision for him to be the captain, I'm here for it. I'm fine with it. Like I got nothing bad to say about him as a person. I'm sure he's a great guy. Um, all my criticism is just his on ice performance. So I just want people to know that like this is just all my criticism on ice performance. Nothing to do with him as a person. I know the Spit and Chicklets podcast or the people from there went all crazy. I think Pasha or something like that. He went crazy saying like he's a dirty player and stuff like that. And, like I'm not going as far to say that. Like I don't think he's a dirty player. I think he's a good physical player. I just think that he, you know, for the cap hit that he has, he's just not worth it. It's too much money, and the Rangers should think about moving on from him. Simply a business decision. There's nothing to do with him personally. It's just that they're not going to have a lot of cap space coming up, and I'll talk more about it towards the end of this show. Uh, Ranger Central with the heartbreak emoji. Polish Matt says Joey. Ranger Central says trade him to Utah. Uh, But yeah, like I mean, let's get into his comments. So this was really, really telling and surprising because I didn't know this. Um, well, actually, none of us knew this at the time of his injury. But if you go back to March 4th, which was around the time of the trade deadline, March 8th was the trade deadline. Uh, March 4th was his last game, and then he missed 11 games and came back to play against the Coyotes on March 30th. So that was almost 4 weeks he missed, and with that injury, they said it was lower body, but we found out on Tuesday it was a broken ankle. He said a big chunk of his ankle came off. That's what Molly Walker reported. So a big chunk of his ankle came off. It wasn't a weight-bearing bone, and he said he didn't feel good skating, but, like that it wasn't. I would imagine that lateral movement was not good for him. So, like, he could do all the simples, like, he could walk and, do normal day-to-day activities and stuff like that. But, like, on the ice, skating was rough, so that's why he was held out those 4 weeks, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it was. Um, and then they said he was recovered. So, there was, like, this whole big thing that, he played through the playoffs on a broken ankle. But if you go from the time of the injury to the end of the playoffs, uh, that's 3 months. I mean, by then, you would think broken ankle has gotta be recovered by then. Maybe not 100%, but it's at least gotta be 95%. Um, maybe he could have taken some extra time off. Maybe he could have just sat the rest of the regular season because, they did have a playoff spot locked up. Zach Jones was playing well. They were like I think the Rangers were 10-2 when Jones was in the lineup down that stretch, something like that, something which is really good. They should probably play Zach Jones a little bit more next season, but Trouba was fully cleared for the playoffs, and he said that the injury wasn't an excuse for his poor play. All right, so let me get into my thoughts here about this. When hockey players do this, I always like to like hype it up because what other sport do players play through crazy, gruesome injuries like they do in hockey? There's no other sport. I mean, LeBron gets carried off the court with cramps. Yeah, like, I understand, yeah, it hurts and stuff like that, but just hockey players in general are a different breed. They have such a high tolerance for pain. So, I mean, I'll always think, like, when you play through an injury, that's ballsy, gutsy. Like, I thought that was brave, admirable, courageous. Yeah, and you might be saying, like, "Well, he sucked." Yeah, let me get to that. I understand that Trouba probably felt like because he's the captain that he needs to be out there and he would be letting the team down if he didn't play. But to see his play get even worse after like he seemingly recovered is very much concerning. So he made it sound like he was playing on a healthy ankle. Now, I have doubts about that. I don't think that ankle was fully healthy. There's no way. Now that like I didn't know that he was healthy. I didn't know that he was injured. And then he goes and reveals that he was the injury he was dealing with was a broken ankle. And then he comes back and says he's fully recovered, but then he's playing like crap. It makes me think like, all right, there's no way he's just this bad. Like because he was bad this season, don't get me wrong, but egregious, egregiously bad in the playoffs. It started in like that second round. Like the first 4 games were fine. I think with the less responsibility, it eased the pain for him a little bit more. But I cannot confirm nor deny, like, I didn't speak to Truba. I'll give the full quote here. So, this was from Vince Mercagliano. So, "That was tough. I broke my ankle. They said a kidney-sized bean chunk of my ankle came off, but it was not a weight-bearing bone, so I could walk. You feel fine, but then you put a skate on and you start pushing at different angles, and it does not feel good. That was tough because you feel fine, you want to be out there, but you're definitely limited by that. It got better as it went on. It's not an excuse or anything by any means. I was ready to play, but it was an interesting one to play with." Um, so that injury was suffered, like I said, just before the trade deadline. So my question is, does being cleared to play mean you're fully healthy, or is it just healthy enough to play? I don't think we figured that out on Tuesday because we know he was injured. We know he was cleared to play, and we know that he said that it wasn't an excuse for how he played. But I need to know if that ankle wasn't 100%. Because if it wasn't 100%, I will give him the benefit of the doubt. I have no problem. I have no problem in when a player says that they're hurt. Like to me, that is an excuse. That's a perfectly valid reason for why your play isn't good, and you should be sitting out. You really should be. Like I understand. Like it takes courage and to play through that pain to have that tolerance for that is insane. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. I wouldn't do that. If I can't go, I can't go. So that's the thing. That's a separate conversation. So the fact he was cleared and said it wasn't an excuse is even worse because that just means he sucks. I have serious doubts about like that injury. Like I'm thinking he wasn't fully healthy. I feel like he should have sat out the rest of the season, the rest of the regular season to get more rest and recovery to ensure that he's good to go 100% for the playoffs. Um, he had a lot of trouble skating, which lines up with what he was saying about the injury. It was hard to turn. Lateral movement is what I'm thinking here. Fox said the same thing about not using it as an excuse, but it was obvious that he was limited by it. We knew the injury. Let's go through some of these comments. During that span, the Rangers were playing some great defensive hockey until he came back for the Arizona game where they played bad defensively. That is not a coincidence. We shouldn't glorify players for playing hurt. It's just selfish and hurts the team. Yeah, I'm going to glorify it like as on an individual level. But like when it comes to the a team perspective, you're in the playoffs, the games start to matter. I mean, enough is enough. Like you play a game, if you don't feel good, you got to be honest with yourself. Am I helping the team or am I a detriment? Am I going to be the reason we lose this game? I won't be the reason we lose another game. You know what I mean? It is courageous, but if it's the point where you're negatively affecting the team, then there's no point of playing. And at that point, since he's a captain, that's just selfish. That's yeah. I was also gonna say like, since he's the captain, he should also be able to take a step back and analyze the situation. If anyone's gonna be able to do it, it's him because he sees everything. Like he's the leader and stuff. And you got to have a little bit of hope that your guys in the room will understand that and think, all right, he's not letting us down. He can't play through this, so let's all step up, come together, and win this game for him. Um, in terms of the being cleared to play, it's probably just good enough to play. Uh, 2 years in a row where he would be playing hurt. Um, I don't remember last year. I my memory is fading here. Um, but anyways, on to Fox. He re-aggravated his knee injury in round 1. We all knew what happened. It was the Jensen knee on knee. We all said that starting in that Carolina series, like where he looked sluggish, got off early on power plays, stuff like that. Fox said at times the injury felt like it limited his mobility. So he did it. He admitted that it did have an effect on him. And there were points where he was tentative. So he wasn't going 100%. And Dan Rosen said that he didn't use it as an excuse. So again, like I said, I look at the injury, and if you're playing through that, Fox especially because he's the best defenseman, and him at 50% is probably still better than some of our other defensemen at 100%. Um, I look at that as a perfectly valid explanation for why you're not playing well. But in that case, you probably need to sit out. So to me as a fan, let me just hammer home this point. To me as a fan, like I'm okay with players admitting they're injured and not 100%. Use that as an excuse. Just be honest with me. Like I feel this way for both Fox and Truba. The injuries are more understandable than just suddenly playing poor hockey. You go from one extreme to the other. Like, okay, you're bad, and then all of a sudden, every time you're out there, something bad happens. Is completely different. So you have to take a step back and analyze the situation and say, all right, am I holding this team back or are they just fine with like me, like this in this condition? And to me, I don't think Truba was in that position where he's good enough to play and could help the team. I don't think he was in that spot. But like I said, I'm not a reporter for the team. I can't confirm nor deny it. This is just pure speculation. Don't take this as gospel. This is just my analysis and my opinion. Take it for what you want. You may agree with me, you may disagree with me, but that's just the way that I feel. I don't think Truba was fully healthy. Um, I'm definitely last thing about Fox before I move on. I'm definitely more okay with Fox getting hurt and playing through than Truba because I knew Fox was banged up with the entire time since that knee on knee. But with like Truba, you assume he's healthy. And then he said he broke his ankle. And then he said he was cleared to play. So I don't know what the hell to think. You know what I mean? Like, is this guy good enough to go or should we sit him? That's why I have doubts. Water D for the comments. Uncle Joe looking sharp today. Thanks, buddy. All right. So Capo Caco had some really good comments on breakup day on Tuesday. For a guy that didn't perform at all this season, very much a disappointing year. Had a lot of high hopes go back to the preseason. I think one of my predictions that turned out to be the meltedest, most melted of all takes was that Caco's breakout year was this season because of how he played in the preseason. He looked sharp in the preseason. I remember that. He held himself accountable about not producing. I love that. Uh, one thing is for certain, he's got a great attitude. And just think about all the crap that he went through with Quinn and Gallant not getting enough opportunities to play, not getting enough ice time. You know, how hard they were on him, benching him for one little mistake, not allowing him to redeem himself. Think about when he first came into the league, how skinny he was, how much muscle he built, the fact that he bulked up. He's growing up, you know, and it's sad because I like him, but I don't think he's going to make it work out in New York. I don't think it's with the Rangers, unfortunately, because I like the player. I love him. I think he still has potential. He's still young. He's 23. He would be valuable for any other team. He's not You can't definitively call him a bust yet because he is still 23. If you give him another opportunity and he works on his skating, or if he gets better in the offseason like Lafreniere did, he still has a chance to break out. But it might not be with the Rangers. But let me get to his quote, what he said that was really telling. I like this. He said about playing with Kreider and Zibanejad this season. Remember, he started the first 10, 11 games with them on that top line. They played good analytically. They were good. The thing was, they didn't score many goals. They only scored like 2 goals when that line was together, those first 11 games. And that's not good enough. Your top line needs to score. I know nothing was happening like against them, but as I said before in previous episodes about how the third line needed to step up, the top line absolutely needed to step up offensively. But here's what he said about playing with Kreider and Zibanejad. Quote, "I can't say I never got the chance. If I would be a good enough player with that time and playing those minutes, it doesn't matter who is there with me." That was from Vince Mercogliano. This is brilliant. He's treating it like he's the guy on the team, like he was in Finland with TPS or the World Juniors with Finland. He's showing more accountability than Zibanejad is, that's for sure. And I love that. And again, this is why I'm sad. Like, I don't want to see him go. But if there's an opportunity to trade him as part of a package that makes the Rangers a better team next year, a better opportunity for them to win the Stanley Cup, you have to do it. You have to. Because if something becomes available, you have to give something to get something. And you can no longer hold on to Kakko as an untouchable. I actually think the Rangers shouldn't make anybody untouchable this offseason. The only untouchables, Fox, Shesterkin, and Panarin probably. Lafreniere. That's it. Not Othman, not Perreault, not your first round pick, not Zibanejad, not Kreider, definitely not Trouba. Nobody is untouchable. So maybe those players can, if they get that message, maybe they'll start playing their asses off. I don't know. I really hope he can make it. I really hope Kakko can still make it work with the Rangers because he has talent and a great attitude. And he even admitted there were things he needed to work on in the offseason, like skating. He's still only 23 years old, like I said. But if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And that is in New York, that is like, if there is rumors going around the other day about Brady Tkachuk, I think it would be a great fit for the Rangers. I think Ottawa would be very stupid to give up on a player like that. 24 years old, locked up for the next 4 years, your captain, gritty guy. But that team, Ottawa, is not built well enough to make it to the playoffs, especially in that division. They're not good enough, and I don't see them being good enough for at least for a few years. I don't know what they have in the pipeline, but they could get a pretty penny back if they traded Brady Tkachuk. Let's move on to Igor Shesterkin here. Quick break here. A lot of talking, guys. A lot of talking. Igor isn't an untouchable if he doesn't sign an extension. That's true. Yeah, so he's got 1 year left. Next year is the last year on the contract. Let's say the Rangers get to the trade deadline, and for some reason they're not a playoff team. I would just trade Shesterkin and be like, all right, give me 3 first rounders and your best prospect, and you could have Shesterkin. We'll eat 50% of the salary. Um, but yeah, like Panarin. Okay, uh, Panarin should be on the table if he's willing to waive his no move clause. So really, no one's untouchable. Just literally Fox and Lafreniere. Those are the only guys that are untouchable for me. And I feel like we're dealing with two cores here. We have an older core in Kreider, Zibanejad, Panarin, and then we have a younger core with Fox and Lafreniere. Um, Fox is how old is he? 26, and Lafreniere is only 22. Zibanejad, Kreider, 30, 31, and 33, respectively. So you're getting close to aging out of their prime there. You're cutting it close. There's only maybe a year or two with those guys as the core, and then I think it shifts to Fox as your centerpiece, and Zibanejad and Kreider take the back seat if they're still on the team. That is. Um, I'm not letting him walk into the final year of his deal without an extension. Yeah, Shesterkin is asking, like he might ask. This was from Molly Walker's article. He might be asking for $12 million. Um, it's possible that he could ask for that. That's not like a foregone conclusion. That wasn't like a per source. He's asking for 12 million. His camp is asking for 12 million. We don't know what he's going to ask for. He could take a pay cut. We don't know. It would be nice if they could get uh like a team friendly deal for him. I don't think that's gonna happen. Team friendly. It's gonna be like a 7, 8 year extension. It has to be. Um, but Shesterkin, him too, he was accountable in his exit interviews. He talked about the soft goals he let up and needing to be better. And the funniest thing was when he was asked about that contract, he said, "I don't speak English." Very, very funny. Very on brand for Shesterkin. That's very much like him. It's gonna be tough this year for him. He's gotta like, if he wants his payday, if they don't sign it before the season, he's gotta play the best hockey, the best he's ever played. Better than he's better than the Vezina winning season if he wants $12 million, because there's no way the Rangers can afford him for $12 million. You can't build your team around a goalie. They did it with Lundqvist, and look what happened. Nothing. Nothing. Because the players they surrounded him with weren't good enough. It's time the Rangers start building around forwards and defense instead of relying on their goaltender to bail them out of every single sticky situation that is known to man. So maybe Benoit Allaire stepping back into a lesser role is a blessing in disguise. Still with the organization, but not as hands-on, not as focused on the goaltending. Maybe it makes the players step up and realize that they need to hold their fair share of accountability and go out and score goals and keep the puck out of the net. Stop making stupid turnovers and bad passes that are leading to crazy high danger chances against. The Rangers have to get better at that. What are they going to do with Shesterkin? Like I said, you can't build a team around the goalie. The $12 million is way too much cap to give for a goalie. Like Bobrovsky is $10 million, and the first couple of years of that deal looked terrible. It looked like Florida was up Schitt's Creek because he was playing so poorly. Now at least he's gotten them to 2 straight finals. Now it looks like he's back to normal. Sorokin got $8.25 million last season. Igor will definitely be looking for 10 million plus. See, like, I don't know if the Rangers should do that, because let's look at the cap friendly here. Right? So next offseason, projected cap space, $33 million. And they'll have to sign Lafreniere, Edstrom, Cooley, Rempe, Jimmy Vesey, Keandre Miller, and Zach Jones. And if they want to keep Quick, in addition to Shesterkin. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 11 players to sign with $33 million. You take 10 away and 33 million. So that's 23 million to sign. How many players did I say? 10 or 11? So you have 23 million to sign 10 players with a big boy extension for Lafreniere. You're going to be able to do that? I don't know, man. I don't know. Um, it's tough. It's tough. So like, what do you do? I mean, like, he's the only reason the Rangers got this far. But it's we know how this story goes with how the Rangers play with goaltending. You know, you rely on the goalie. Lundqvist carried them to how many conference finals was it? It was 2012, 2014, and 2015. So 4 or 3 conference finals in 4 years. Yeah, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah. 3 conference finals in 4 years. So, I mean, you saw how those teams were. Like they were good, but just weren't good enough to get over the hump. You can't make the same mistakes again. Like I understand how good Shesterkin is. I love him to death. I wish the Rangers would be able to keep him, but they might have to start entertaining the idea of, building a better team first instead of prioritizing a goalie that's going to cover up all your mistakes. Like have a solid foundation. This is why all these other teams don't have good goalies is because they build their team first and then they work on the goalie. But by then, there are no good goalies to take. So the Rangers have to figure something out. This is going to be a very, very tough decision. This might be the toughest decision Chris Drury is going to have to make. Somebody told me that if you trade Igor, you're closing the cup window. But if you decide to give him 10 million plus, then you're also closing the window, right? Because you're not going. How are you going to be able to sign all of your guys, right? Like if you're going to build the next core, how are you going to do that with no cap space? First things first, they have to clear cap space this offseason. They have to. One of Trouba, Goudreau, Kreider, Zibanejad, Panarin, one of those guys has to go. There's just no other way about it. The Rangers can't pay Shesterkin $10 million the same year they're paying Trouba $8 million. It can't work. You cannot tie up $18 million to those 2 players. You might be. I would pay $18 million just to Shesterkin. The only difference is what with Cap being saved from not paying him and assets they get back from him, they could easily take a step back and in 2-3 years go for it again. And that's not to say they won't be a good team. Like if you trade Shesterkin and you get good value in return, you need to get you need to pick what are you going to get? You want prospects that are going to be ready in 5 years, or do you want guys that are ready to play like right now, like NHL ready guys? I think you should if you trade any of the guys that I mentioned, if you trade any of them, you should be looking for guys that are ready to play right now. You shouldn't be looking for 5 years from now. Because then you'll just put yourself in the exact same situation. 5 years from now, Lafreniere is going to be 27, and the other guys, whoever prospects, like a 17-year-old prospect is going to be 22, which is exactly where we are now, kind of. So you need guys that fit into the age group that we're working with right now. So I think, like, if you trade Zibanejad, don't go. Maybe you get a first-round pick, but you got to fill in holes on your lineup. You got to fill in other holes. So, like, third line, defenseman, that's what you need. And then you throw in a prospect to match value. But, like, the Rangers could if they like I was starting to say, if they build the team properly, they trade Shesterkin and they get good return and build the team through that, they could still make the playoffs. They could still make a push for the playoffs. Just the guys that are here will need to play better. And it'll be you guys will hit the nail on the head if those players don't make the playoffs the year they trade Shesterkin. This is all hypothetical. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if the Rangers can't find a way to extend Shesterkin and they have to trade him, you can't leave that on the table. You cannot leave that on the table. You have to. You have to. And if the team falls off the cliff, that's going to be telling that they relied too much on the goaltender and that they're not good enough by themselves to win. All the players believe they're good enough to win a cup, and that's great and all. But there's a large population of the fan base that has serious doubts about the current core of the Rangers, with justification, with reason. Get me a package deal of Gordon Alexiak. Gordon Alexiak for Shesterkin. Me a first round pick in there too, and that's it. I'll take it. I'll take it. Because there you go. What is Alexiak? A top 4 defenseman? How old is he? Let's look. I'm looking on Cap Friendly right now. We're throwing out hypotheticals here. Jamie Alexiak. He's 31, $4.6 million. Way better. Yeah, like that's like if you get rid of Trouba, replace it with that, fine. Fine. He's got 2 years left. 31 years old. Fits right in. I don't know how his defense is. I don't know what his analytics are. We'll take a look at that in future episodes of the show, maybe future episodes on the channel, future videos on the channel. We'll get more into offseason talk in a bit. But I mean, I like that trade too because you fill out the third line as well. And I'll get more to that later. I'll get more to that later. Don't you worry. I just mean in general, not for Igor. Lindgren, Kakko, and maybe a pick for those two. I don't know. I would like that trade, but I don't know if that's too little to give up. I don't know. Let's move on to Mika Zibanejad's comments in his exit interviews on Tuesday. So Zibanejad, he's kind of he likes to think about his answers. Right? Like he'll take a lot of time. He'll really think about a question, but he's not really a guy that has all the answers. That's just what it seems like to me. He doesn't come across as a guy that's going to solve everything. He's a follower, not a leader, and that's fine. That's fine. As long as you have leaders in the room. But Zibanejad basically pointed to the other team for why the Rangers didn't get the job done. He pointed to the Panthers. He said they were the better team. They made it hard on us. They took away time and space. They pressured a lot. He basically had no answer. He didn't have an answer. To me, it sounded like he was giving way too much credit to the Panthers for a player. I mean, it's realistic because yes, there's another team playing and they happen to be the better one. But if you look at Fox and Trouba's answers and the other guys, they focus too much on themselves, I feel like, and they didn't give the Panthers enough credit. They didn't give themselves the benefit of the doubt, like they were playing injured. But the opposite is true with Zibanejad. He's not focusing on what he did wrong at all. He's focusing on the Panthers. He's giving them all the credit. Like, can we balance this out at all? I wasn't a fan of that. But that's just who he is. And I'm not a fan of it. But you can't have every single person be the same. You can't have it be like carbon copy like Kreider. I need to be better. Kakko, I need to be better. I had the opportunity. I can't say I never got the chance. A good player would have gotten it done. A little bit of perspective in there is nice. So I'm not faulting Zibanejad for that at all. I'm just saying I would just like it if he would say, yeah, guys, we weren't good enough, but I didn't give it my best. I wasn't my best. I have more to offer. And hopefully next season, I'll be able to work on my game in the offseason, in the summer, train and prepare, come back ready to go with the same goal of winning the Stanley Cup. That's it. That's all you have to say. That's all you have to say. I would just like it if he had just a little bit more accountability. I thought it was really telling. It was the same deal as the overtime game winner in game 4 when he made that bad pass to Wheeler, and he basically said that it was just, it wasn't my day, and there was nothing he could do about it. No, man, like, you made the wrong play. Be better next time. I won't do it again. I'll look more carefully at my options next time. That's it. That's all you have to say. But I guess that's just too much to ask for. Man, Mika needs some testosterone injections. His quiet demeanor annoys me. But I don't have a problem with him being quiet. That's just not a leader. That's just a follower. And I'm not criticizing. That's not a that's not a critique of him. He's wearing the A. So yeah, that is a little concerning. But there are going to be followers. Not everyone's going to be a leader. You can't have too many leaders. You want to have one guy above all else that everybody looks to when you need something to go right. You need something to change. I'd like to hear, I'm going to do XYZ to get better next year. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Matt says big credit to Barkov for shutting down Mika, but Mika as a 1C can't make that excuse. For a guy who gets paid $8.5 million and has a letter, he needs to find a way. Eichel find a way last year in the finals. Yes. Eichel bought into that dump and chase style. If he could do it, anybody can. Right? Hockey is a violent sport. Mika needs to be more violent. Yeah, you got to. I know it's not in his play style, but he's got a big frame. Got to get in on the forecheck. Somebody does. But that line's never going to do anything. Like, you go up against the best defensive players and you can't get the job done. It's like the same thing over and over again. Jordan Staal 2 years ago. Look at how he shut down that Mika line. Barkov this year. I don't know. Was he sure matched up against Zibanejad's line last year? I don't remember, but it might have been. You need to find a way to crack through defensive centers. And you can't just keep saying they were better. They were better. When is it time for you to get better? That's why people are so tired and calling for Zibanejad's head when trading him, and all these rumors and speculation throughout the season. That's why people are doing that, because he hasn't solved like a good defensive center yet in the playoffs. It's yet to be seen. And if the Rangers are going to win the Stanley Cup, they need that. They need that from their first line center. So I started this season pretty harshly. Like, I was very much against Zibanejad criticism. I thought he would be able to figure it out. Like, I know he had a rough start, and I was like, all right, no, he'll figure it out. He always does. It just takes one. And then when they went through that slump in the middle of the year, like December, January, that was when I was like, all right, something's wrong with Zibanejad. This is not good, and he needs to be better. And then it became, in this Florida series, might not be the guy. So all this to say, now I am at least willing to have a conversation about, trading Zibanejad. If you trade Trouba, you might not have to, because then you could live with the salary cap, at least for one more year. I don't know. It depends on who you replace Zibanejad with, and that's a separate conversation. I don't want to get too much into that right now, but we'll move on to Matt Rempe, the energetic golden retriever energy from the Rangers rookie, 6'8.5", I believe, 6'7.5", 6'8.5", fourth line grinder, enforcer, General Zod light, Matt Rempe. He said he was nowhere near satisfied with his game. And I mean, he was happy making it to the NHL, but to hear him say he's going to, go back home and work on everything, skating, lifting, like strength, conditioning, Like he wants to be play 8 to 12 minutes a night next season. Man, I love it. I hope the Rangers have this guy for a long time. I love him. I love him. I want to see him. I want him to see him make the team out of camp next season. Edstrom too. I would like to see that, like a fourth line Edstrom, Rempe, Goudreau. Ooh, ooh, man, that's good. I would like that. If they could skate well, move the puck, get some offensive chances, spend a little less time in the defensive zone. Yeah, man, you got something there. You're cooking with gas there. Um, Rempe's answer, Bug, just said he wants to be in 8 to 10 minutes a game. Why not shoot for more? Well, I mean, he's a fourth line he knows what he is. He's not like a scorer. He's not like a Kreider or a Panarin or a Lafreniere or a Trocheck. Like, if anything, maybe he could shoot for the third line. I don't know. But I think that's just him being realistic. I like that. 8 to 12 minutes. Yeah, you gotta start somewhere. You've been playing 3, 4 minutes. 3, 4 minutes. Like, after the second period, it was like a miracle if he got a shift in that third period. Like, like that's, I like that. I like that answer from him. I didn't have an issue with that. Uh, yeah, I'm a Rumpy supporter, though. That's good. Yeah, that's good. Um, let's get to, Laviolette. Peter Laviolette said the season wasn't a success because the goal at the beginning was to win the Stanley Cup. Um, I like that. I like that. I mean, you had a good season. You set franchise records in wins, points, whatever it was. All the 94 comparisons. We really thought this was the year. And then to admit that no, it wasn't a success because we didn't accomplish our goal. I like that answer. That's good. Good stuff. I have to give Laviolette, like, if I'm giving grades out for his performance, I gotta give him at least a B plus, maybe an A minus for this season. Like, and that a lot of that has to do with just what the Rangers had before. Quinn and Gallant, dude, like that was just at least we have an NHL coach now, right? Like that's the thing. Laviolette, I don't have any complaints. I'm not gonna put much of the blame on him for why they lost. Rangers ran into a better team, and they just didn't have any answers. Uh, they didn't have any answers, and they need to find answers. And I hope he could coach them to the promised land and find those answers in the process. Um, Laviolette also took responsibility for Capo Caco. He said, "My responsibility as a coach is to unleash these players." And then he said he has to find a way to get him more involved. He said this earlier in the season as well. Uh, 1 second, everybody. I have to take a call. Give me 1 second. We're gonna take a pause here. Okay, we are back. We are back. So sorry for that. Had a important call for work that I had to get. And where were we here? Uh, get off the phone. Get off the phone. Business day. Yes, yes. Um, the 94 comparisons were so ridiculous. Glad that's at least done. That team had 27 cup rings combined. This team didn't even sniff that team's cal. Oh, right, right, right. Like the players on the 94 team. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they just inherited the Oilers roster from like the 80s and 90s. I mean, but like that's what it took to win. It's different now. I don't know. Um, but oh, we were talking about Laviolette, uh, and how he took responsibility for Kako. So he said, "My responsibility as a coach is to unleash these players." Right. So he was saying that, you know, yeah, it falls on Kako too for not performing, but I didn't put him in enough positions to thrive. Let's say so like for him, I like that answer from Laviolette because he's like based on like the discourse last offseason about how he was a retread and he's gonna ruin the younger guys. He's not gonna give them ice time. He's gonna rely on the veterans. He did rely on the veterans, but he did not ruin the young guys. He did not he did not take a step back, make them take a step back. In fact, Lafreniere and Braden Schneider took major, major steps forward this year. So, and Will Cooley, he gave an opportunity to right from the beginning, made the team out of camp. He kept Will Cooley over veterans like Benino and Tyler Pitlick. He used him over guys like that. So, if anything, he made the younger guys he 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 gave the younger guys more of an opportunity. So, I that's why I like this answer because he's still Laviolette in a way he's holding himself accountable. He's saying that, "All right, yeah, I should have given Kako more of a chance here instead of Gallant where he's just gonna fold his hands and call it a day and say like, "Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, he's gotta be better. That's it." Like, the Laviolette was I like that answer. Very accountable, I guess you could say responsible. Um, like, he has faith in Kako, like, he's not giving up on him. And to see him defeat those retread, narratives is great. I like I said, good grade for Laviolette this year in my book. Uh he said he has to find a way to get Kako more involved, and he said it earlier this season. I think it was against Dallas, that home game against Dallas in February. Um, Kako had a short s maybe it was, no, no, it was. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't. I don't remember what game it was, but it was February, and he had a short side shot on the goaltender, blocker side. It was a great shot, and Laviolette acknowledged that and said, "Yeah, man, I gotta find a way to get him more looks because he was playing well tonight." Uh, like, that's a good thing to hear from your coach. Kako really hasn't had a coach like that really in his corner pulling for him to do well. And again, I'm not saying this, like, isn't Kako's fault. Like, yeah, like, he shoulders majority of the blame here, like 90 to 95% of the blame at this point. Like he's well beyond David Quinn. He's well beyond Gerard Gallant. At this point, Kako needs to rise above and become that player that he was in Finland in those in the Finnish league to be a quality NHL player. And again, sadly, it might not be with the Rangers. Oh, it might have been against the Canadians. Okay, it might have been against the Canadians. Yeah, maybe, maybe. Um, Laviolette also, speaking of young guys, had high, high praise for Alexis Lafreniere. He sounded like he's ready to give him more responsibilities next season. He didn't outright say like, "Yeah, he's getting power play 1 time this season," or, "Yeah, next year I'll double shift him more." But he had high praise. He said he had an excellent season, said it was good from the first game on. You remember that conversation he had, like, the morning skate of game day, of game 1 against Buffalo? Pulled him aside. I really, really wonder what he said to Lafreniere, because whatever it was had to have been so impactful to make Lafreniere have a season as incredible as this one has. Um, like, I'm looking to see, like, Lafreniere's getting power play 1 time next year. I think that he could. I think he could. And I forgot to write it in my, uh in my notes here, but the ice cold take segment is right now, and the ice cold take is an accurate statement backed by facts and observations that is solid in nature, similar to a block of ice, i.e., a spot on claim. I'll borrow a little bit from what Ranger Central Evan D'Angelo was saying about Lafreniere during the playoff run, that we're looking at him becoming the franchise guy. And that's the thing. We're looking at him becoming the biggest part of the core. You might be looking at a future captain. I don't know, man. I saw some people saying Trocheck should be captain, and I like that. Good old Italian stallion as your captain in New York. Um, I like that, but Alexis Lafreniere, I think he might be getting the Panarin treatment next year from Laviolette, where he's going to get double shifts on the power play, 5-on-5. Because if the Rangers don't get a top line right winger, please do, please do. They have no options, and Lafreniere is their best choice for both units, for both top 6 lines, the top 2 lines. It's Lafreniere. There's your answer. Uh, but yeah, I could see him getting power play 1 time. Now, who you take off? I don't know where Lafreniere played World Juniors. I forget where he was positioned. I I thought it was the left dot. I know he's a lefty. I thought it was the left dot. Now, you guys in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you guys know for sure. Where did Lafreniere play in World Juniors on the power play? Where did they position him? Was he on his one-timer side? Was he on the left side, like his natural side? What position was he in? Uh, that's not an ice cold take. Lafreniere will break 90 points next year. Lafreniere is getting 100 points next year. If Lafreniere gets power play 1 time, he's getting 100 points. And he's in for a big boy extension. 8 times 8. 8 times 8. There's your extension. But I think if he did play in the left dot, you're gonna see him. Left dot, Lafreniere. Zibanejad moves off. You move him to the second unit. You play Zach Jones on the second unit, and all of a sudden, you have 2 power play units. You have 2 viable power play units. You could split them, a 1A and a 1B. And I was listening to all the Rangers podcasts yesterday. I was listening to Blue Crew. I was listening to Molly's podcast. I was listening to Vince's podcast. They were all saying like, "All right, yeah, Lafreniere, how are we gonna get him power play 1 time?" That those guys have been established, like they were the best in the league. Uh, like they need their ice time because they're getting paid. And when did this become a sport about individuals? You're in it to win the Stanley Cup. You should be willing to make the sacrifices necessary to win the cup. If that means putting Lafreniere there and reducing your ice time, you may not like it, but you're still getting paid. When did this become all about me, and not we? Like, I don't care if you don't get your ice time. Like, if Panarin gets moved off, so be it. If Lafreniere gets power play 1, I can't see it being Panarin moved off. I could see Zibanejad getting moved off. I could see Trocheck getting moved off. But to me, with the way Zibanejad played this season, if he's still on the Rangers next year, power play 2. Lafreniere, you're getting the chance. Eh, I'm sorry. That's it. That's it. I think it's Zibanejad that needs to get off power play 1. Get off power play 1. Get off power play 1. And Lafreniere's got to slot in there and become the staple. Is the staple there. Too predictable. Everybody knows the 1T is coming. They telegraph it. The Rangers get into that rhythm where you know that's going to come and they slide over. The goalie will cheat. The goalie doesn't even have to think shot from the point or shot from Panarin. He just knows to cheat to the other side and stop the Zibanejad one-timer. Yes, he was on the left side on the power play for Canada. Yeah, okay, that's right in his wheelhouse then. That's something he's comfortable with. He looked so calm, so relaxed and comfortable in a series where Florida was all up in the Rangers' faces, and you just have to buy into that more. The Rangers just there's no other way about it. They have to play him more next season. Everywhere. 5-on-5, power play, end of the game. He should be like a shootout regular. He should be the first guy out there in overtime. Let's go, man. Like this kid is the real deal. I think this is it with him. I think he proved that he's capable of taking the next step. Now we got to put the team itself has to put more faith in him that he'll get the job done because he looks so confident. He was the most confident player out there. Him and Shesterkin were the best players for the Rangers in the conference finals. It wasn't saying much because the rest of the team didn't show up. So actually, it is because it stands out. Like it stands out. They're more noticeable easily every game. Those two guys, Lafreniere and Shesterkin. Lafreniere, 100 points next year. Power play 1. Zibanejad's off. There's your ice cold take. All that's going to happen. All one big mumbo jumbo ice cold take. So we'll move into some off-season discussions here. One thing that I did want to point out that I forgot to, I was going to make the point earlier about when I was talking about Zibanejad facing defensive centers. Every year the Rangers get eliminated, it always feels the same way, like the way they get eliminated. The things that they can't do, the things that go wrong. It's been the same since not even the first legit playoff run, the first legit time they made the playoffs in 2022, 2 years ago. You have to go back to the bubble, the play-in series with Carolina. It's a trend. And interestingly, the Jeff Gorton, I remember that series was used as like a way to see what the Rangers had with their younger guys. Like, they're coming off they're 2 years out of the rebuild, the letter. They had they won the lottery. They had Kakko. Good competitive regular season. Maybe not the best like production from their younger guys, like Kakko, for example. But that was on David Quinn's fault because he never really played him that much. But that Carolina series, what happened? The Rangers got bottled up, couldn't make any moves, couldn't get to the net, couldn't get any shots, just completely dominated in every facet of the game. Fast forward to the following year, in the lockout in the COVID shortened year. I guess it would be the lockout shortened year where they played the 56 games. All those games against the Islanders, especially towards the end of the season. Think about how hard it was for them to get to the net, them getting bottled up, not being able to get to the slot, get good chances. Again, dominated in every facet of the game. Power play wasn't able to get through. Then you look at the next season against Tampa Bay. You go up 2-0. You lose, you blow game 3. Game 5, very, very similar to 2015, like games 5 and 7, like a wash down the middle. Nothing the Rangers could get going. They lose 2-1 on a late goal by Sergachev. Then they lose the series. They couldn't get any goals. They got 1 goal in game 6. Bottled up. Can't get through. Again, it's becoming a trend. So you're already at 3 years. The bubble year or the 72 game season one where they played Carolina best of 3 to play in. The lockout year against the Islanders. I remember those games vividly because it was very frustrating to play against them. The conference finals against Tampa Bay in 2022. 2023, after the Rangers went up 2-0 in the series, what did the Devils do? Goaltending change, sit all 5 players back, and you can't get through. Bottled up, can't get any offense. Aside from game 6 of that series, you lose game 7, 4-0. That's it. Season's over. Can't get to the slot. 2024. So that's 4 years now. This is 5 years. 2024. You go up against Florida. Go up 2-1. Game 4. Can't get anything through. You tie the game. Go to overtime. Stupid mistake. You go back to New York for game 5, tied 2-2. What happens in game 5? You get the first goal. Break down defensively. Gets the game even. And then the Rangers just cannot get through. Can't get chances in the slot. Can't get high danger chances. No quality looks. All perimeter play. Can't crack the inside. Can't beat the trap. Bottled up. Flushed out. The Rangers have a tendency. This is a trend, a bad trend, where they cannot beat teams that trap and play a playoff style defensive hockey. They need to figure out a way to do that. And I don't even know if they have the personnel to do that with. This is a question that I would like to ask other people more knowledgeable about the team than I am, closer to the team. I would love to ask Steve Valiquette if the Rangers are have the personnel or are capable of beating a defensive minded team like a Florida, like the way New Jersey played, or Carolina. The Rangers did it to Carolina because Carolina played into their strength. Shesterkin is good at facing low danger chances. Makes him better. Makes it easier for him to save the high danger ones. That's how they won that series. So it's going to take a collective effort. Somebody has to play a different style. You can't we know what we have. We know what the Rangers have. That's why people keep saying, why people keep saying trade Zibanejad, because we know what we have there. That's why people said last year, trade Panarin. You might want to have Kreider just, listen, man, go soft during the regular season, but like when it's the playoff time, like after the trade deadline, give me 110%. Save everything for this stretch right here. Go all out, get us to the playoffs, forecheck like a madman. And then when it's playoff time, don't shy away from any contact. Don't do any flybys. Everything into the boards, every hit. Don't let up on your checks. Like, finish everything. Because that's how Florida was playing. Why do the Rangers refuse to play that way? Like, this is a huge evaluation point for Chris Drury and company. What are the Rangers going to do? Who are the New York Rangers even? What is their identity? We still don't have an answer for that. Are they a relentless forechecking team? No. A skilled, creative, dynamic team that's rush heavy? Maybe. They're a resilient team. We know that. That's a good thing. But that's not something, that alone isn't enough to set them apart from other teams and have that be its own identity, because championship teams have that quality. You're supposed to display that. It's not enough of an identity, resilience. What sets these guys apart from other teams? I don't think there's an answer right now, but Chris Drury and company, they need to figure it out for next season and stick to that style all the way through, because if they don't, this core is not going to win. That is the question, once again, that the Rangers need to figure out. And if anybody is going to define it, Laviolette is the guy to help guide you through with that. The Rangers worked their asses off this season from the first day of camp till the end, day at a time. They worked hard. The practices were at full speed. They really got a kick in the ass. They needed it after their effort last season. They really needed it. And they responded pretty well during the regular season, made a good run in the playoffs, but you need to start looking at the end from the beginning. How are you going to get over the hump? You know what the hump is. You see it when it gets to that point. You need to start seeing it from the beginning and make the decisions now so that it'll put you over the top for the future. Look at what Florida did. I've heard this referenced a couple times on the few shows that I listened to yesterday. Florida won the President's Trophy in 2022. They got swept by Tampa Bay in the second round. They didn't run it back exactly with what they had. They didn't fold their hands, say, "Oh, it was a good season. Let's try again next season." No. They swung for the fences. Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, a prospect, and a first-round pick. They packaged all of that for Matthew Tkachuk that came with a signed extension. The first sign-and trade, believed to be the first sign-and trade in NHL history. They did that because they knew what they needed come playoff time. They barely made the playoffs. The regular season was a wash. They struggled mightily at times. It didn't look like they were going to make it. They put the pieces together. They figured it out under the new coach, Paul Maurice. They made the playoffs. No one gave them a chance against Boston, a historic Boston team. They go down 3-1, don't quit, and they work the crap out of the Bruins. Get it to a game 7, work their ass off in game 7 to tie it, and then Verhaeghe won it in overtime. That is a hardworking team, and then from there on, it was easy to get to the end, to the finals. And when they got to the finals, the only thing stopping them was their injuries. If they weren't injured, that possibly could have gone 7 games, and you might have seen Florida win that against Vegas. Also a stout team. But they made that move from the very beginning, the offseason. They got eliminated. You wait a month or two, you make the trade, and you know you're making that trade not for the regular season. You're making that trade because you know it's going to get you over the hump. It's going to get you to beat the Tampa Bays, the Bostons, the Rangers. It's going to get you to beat the Maple Leafs, the Hurricanes. It's going to get you to beat those teams in the end that you know you're probably going to have to face. It might not be Florida every year, but you know the past 5 years, the Rangers have lost to the same style of play. The same style of play has kept them off the score sheet, has washed their power play. It's made them lose every single time. So you got to make that move right now. Within the next couple months, before next season begins, you have to make that trade. It could be Brady Tkachuk, it could be Alex Tuch. You have to make a difference-making trade, and you have to be willing to give up whatever, everything. Nothing should be off the table. If they ask for Fox, dude, I don't even know. You might not be able to. Anything except for Florida was probably in that same position. They probably left everybody available except for Barkov, and that's it. I really don't think that they had anybody else on that team that they weren't willing to trade. They let their leading scorer, 110 points, Jonathan Huberdeau, they traded him. That's how willing they were to win. You have to go all out. It's enough is enough. You cannot hold on to prospects anymore. Like, it might not work out in their favor, but you have to swing for the fences. You can't do the same thing you did with Gensel. You can't do the same thing when there was the opportunity to trade for Matthew Tkachuk a couple off seasons ago. You can't do the same thing when it came to Eichel 3 off seasons ago now. And now look at look at where those 2 trades, Eichel and Tkachuk, got the teams that traded for them. Eichel, a Stanley Cup, Vegas. They won the Stanley Cup the year after he got traded there. The first year, he wasn't healthy. They didn't make the playoffs. First full year with the team, healthy, makes the playoffs, win the Stanley Cup. Matthew Tkachuk, first year, Florida, gets to the finals. So the 2 guys that everyone was clamoring for, all the speculation, all the offseason discourse the past couple seasons, those were the guys that were in the finals. 2021 offseason, when the Rangers got rid of Jeff Gorton and John Davidson. Heading into the 21-22 season, all the talk was about Eichel. Were the Rangers going to trade for Eichel? Who's going to get Eichel? Vegas trades for Eichel. Go forward a year because he was injured. Doesn't count. They make the playoffs and win the Stanley Cup. 2022 offseason. Matthew Tkachuk. Who's going to trade for Matthew Tkachuk? The Rangers had the opportunity. They had a real opportunity to get Panarin a viable right winger on his line instead of relying on guys like Dryden Hunt or Colin Blackwell to do the job. Jesper Fast, a legit right winger. Who trades for him? Florida. What does Florida do? They make it to the finals. 2022-2023. Now, 2024. They're going to the finals again. Matthew Tkachuk. So the last 3 finals have been the last 2 finals because Vegas and Florida played each other last season. Eichel, Tkachuk. The 2 guys everybody was saying the Rangers should trade for. Eichel and Tkachuk. What happens? The teams they go to the finals. So the Rangers have to fold their hands and give what these other teams are asking for. If they're available, go and get them. I don't care. I do not care what they are asking for. If they want Zibanejad and Kakko and a first-round pick for Brady Tkachuk, so be it. Goodbye. You have to make the trade. You have to be willing to do it. This is a tough decision for Chris Drury to make, but you can't keep everyone forever. He decided he couldn't keep Buchnevich and moved him immediately. And now he has to do the same thing again this offseason. So this is going to be a long one for the Rangers, long offseason, long one for Chris Drury. We'll see what decisions he has to make, what he's going to make. But to me, it's simple. If Brady Tkachuk is available, you do whatever you can to go and trade for him. If they're asking for Othmann, Perreault, and Kakko, whatever they were asking for Gensel, you got to make that trade. You have to, because then the Rangers won't win. You cannot run it back with the same exact roster and expect them to change. They are not those guys. They are not the guys to get you through the playoff style hockey they've been losing to. 5 years in a row, the same damn thing. That's it. That's it for me, everybody. This is a long one. Ice Cold Takes fans. We'll see you guys next week.